From the darkest corners of the creepy old house down the street to the screams in the night. Settle in, Para family, to join with Whitney and Brandon for another spooky episode of the Para Unity Podcast.
Hello, Para family, and welcome once again to the Para Unity Podcast. Tonight, as you can see, I'm flying solo due to some crazy travel issues that our dear Whitney is dealing with. But I promise all my bad jokes will once again go unchecked, and that's okay, because we have fun with it. But tonight, we are headed to the far west side of Iowa, where the convergence of Nebraska, South Dakota, and Iowa takes place along the Big Souix and Missouri rivers. So we're joined by Dave and Kathy Lafleur of Para911, located in Sioux City, Iowa. But before we pull them on the show, let's talk a little bit about this place we're visiting. So Sioux City is a city in Woodbury and counties in the northwestern part of the United States of Iowa. Well, the United State of Iowa, rather. But that's okay. The population was 85,797 in the 2020 census, making it the fourth most populous city in Iowa. The bulk of the city is in Woodbury County, of which it's the county seat. Through the small portion in Plymouth County, city is considered the navigational head of the Missouri River, and the city is home to several cultural events of interest, including the Sioux City Public Museum, the Sioux City Art Center, and the Sergeant Floyd Monument, which is a National Historic Landmark. So the city is also home to Chris Larson Floyd's Riverboat Museum and the Lewis and Clark Interpretive Center. The area of Sioux City was inhabited by Yankton Sioux when it was first reached by the Spanish and French fur trappers in the 18th century, and the first documented U.S. citizens to record their travels through the area were Meriwether Lewis and William Clark during the summer of 1804. So Sergeant Charles Floyd, a member of that expedition, actually died here on August 20th of 1804 and was the only death during the 2.5-year expedition. One would not think that there's very much paranormal activity happening in Sioux City, but you would be surprised. We did find a few, and our guests will probably be able to tell us a lot more. But our first location is the Lafleur house. So reports may differ as to the spelling of the name of this locally famous haunted house, but its merit as a haunted site is hard to argue. Several murders have taken place on the premises. Phenomena reported include red glowing seen from upstairs, a very cold attic, even during the heat of the summer, and a washing machine that ran by itself. So this owner has seen a ghostly lady in a blue dress and witnessed a marble being thrown across the residence. Crazily enough, there is said to be 7 ghosts here. The place was a streetcar shop in the early 1900s and is now considered a private residence. So don't go knocking on their door unless they say it's okay. So our next location is the DeMitt Hall at Morningside College. Residents of this dorm have reported hearing a girl choking and gagging at night. We won't go there. Also, an apparition of a crying woman has been seen walking down the hall. She is said to be the ghost of a girl who committed suicide by hanging herself from the heating pipes in her dorm room. So our final spot is the Sioux City Municipal Auditorium. So legend has it that Rodriguez, an electrician who was electrocuted in the 1940s during the building of the auditorium, haunts the area by flickering the lights and turning them off and on. There are also cold spots felt near the site of his death. So the ghost of a 12-year-old boy also haunts this site, and it is said that he died there in the early 1960s by falling off the roof. Why a 12-year-old was on the roof, I guess that's remains to be seen. But cold spots can also be sometimes felt, and the boy's crying can be heard. So that's just a few of them. I was able to find a lot more, but I figured let's hear it from our guests, and maybe they can fill us in on some more of these great places that we need to be checking out while we're in Sioux City. So without further ado, let's make sure we bring on Dave and Kathy Lafleur from Para911. Guys, how are you doing tonight?
Good. How are you guys?
We are doing great. Well, I'm doing way better than Whitney, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's true.
So I thank you guys for being on the show. I know it was kind of short notice, but I really do appreciate it. It's great to have you guys on. We actually got the chance to meet each other at the Haunted Rock Island YMCA.
Yes.
Which was an amazing trip. So I guess the question, what got you guys started in the paranormal?
I started back in 2008 is when I first started. My first group I formed was Siouxland Paranormal Research Society. And I had that for, probably a good 5-6 years. And then decided to take a little break and then reformed. Some of the members that I had moved on to other things. So reformed it to Para911. And we've been going since. So for me, getting into it was mostly out of curiosity. Growing up in a couple places that had some activity. As a kid, I was always afraid of it, but now I'm kind of would rather run towards it and see what it is instead of run away from it. So, it's kind of like a fireman or a first responder, the first one's in, the last one's out kind of thing. So we don't run away from it. We run towards it, just like they run towards the fire, they run towards the gunfire. We kind of do the same thing, except for the paranormal part of it.
Well, you guys still have your ambulance too, right?
Yes.
So
Still have the Reaper.
It's perfect.
Yep. Yep. It's an attention getter.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not Ecto 1 going down the street, but I mean, it's
but it can
cool.
sound like it. It can sound like it. We do have the siren. I do have the Ecto. I have everything in the ambulance works, including the siren. And I actually swapped out the siren that was in there for a Finex siren that has the Ecto 1 siren built into it.
That's phenomenal.
So it's awesome.
Well, how about you, Kathy? What got you started?
Dave. Really. Yeah. So yeah, it was nothing that I ever really thought I'd ever do, but going along and learning about the history and seeing the architecture of the really cool different locations that we've been going to. It's been a lot of fun, really, or learning a lot, very interesting. So
yes.
Well, I mean, I talked about some of the places there in Sioux City. Is there any like big places that you guys would recommend in your guys' area?
Well, let me touch on the last one that you talked about, because the Lafleur house or the Lafleur house, as you said, is a private residence. Hard to get a hold of anybody who owns it right now because they don't want anybody, I guess they're doing, looking at it or whatever. So,
of course.
I think it was a Demet Hall in Morningside College. I've heard about it, talked to a couple people about it, but we haven't been asked to come there yet. However, you mentioned the auditorium, the Sioux City Auditorium, which is now the Long Line Center, which is attached to the Tyson Event Center. The story you talked about the electrician. We really didn't get a lot about that, but we did get an opportunity to investigate the Sioux City Orpheum last weekend, or last Friday. And there was another group that had investigated it prior to us, probably about 3 months or so prior to that. And we found out some information about it, and then we did some research, and we found out that we didn't find anything really about the electrician guy. But what we did find out was that instead of an 11-year-old boy, it was a 10-year-old boy, and his name was Tony. And Tony liked to chase pigeons, and he actually had pigeons of his own that he had kept at his house. and he was running around chasing pigeons one day, and down at the auditorium they were doing some add-on work, and somehow he ended up, from what we understand, on the roof of the auditorium, and he ended up falling into a chute, and that is where he died at. He went actually missing on a Saturday night, but he wasn't reported missing until Sunday, and that's when they found him in the chute on the top. So he is supposed to, or rumored to, haunt between the auditorium and the Orpheum Theater. And part of the reason for that, I guess, is because the same people own both properties. Okay. So he kind of goes back and forth between those two places. And then his father, whose name was Walter, he was very upset because the same people own both locations, but when they was doing the work on the auditorium, didn't have the right precautions and safety stuff set up to prevent people from getting up to and near where they was doing construction stuff. And his kid ended up dying because of that. So he haunts the Orpheum Theater. There's a hallway there that he's most prevalent to haunt in. And we actually, surprisingly enough, we was doing a live with Channel 4 in Sioux City on a Wednesday morning at 5 o'clock. And we had the Ovilus 5 with us, and we were in the elevator. And as we were going up, the name Walter came across the Ovilus.
Oh, neat.
Now, with the thousands and thousands and thousands of names and words and everything that's in that thing, for just that one name Walter to come up at that particular time in that particular building was just astronomical. I mean, what's the odds of that?
Oh, absolutely.
You know.
Now, I'm curious, is he, and I don't know if you guys got much communication with him when you were up there, is he kind of a grumpier spirit, or is he just kind of, I kind of wondered.
He's known to be grumpy.
Angry spirit.
Yeah. And we did get some cat ball activity, some EMF activity with that, but that's about it. I still have audio to go through to listen to from that particular area to see if we picked anything up there. But yeah,
Very
it's
cool.
interesting.
I think I would go online and buy some like stuffed pigeons
And place them around.
Yeah.
Yeah, and place them around. Maybe put a couple out and put like a tripwire between them or something, and or maybe some cat balls near them or something.
Yeah.
Because I wonder if he was that excited about pigeons that he would go way up on the roof of this building. I wonder if he'd be interested in that.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. I'm sure we'll be going back there again. So
for sure. I miss my team used to do a lot of activity or a lot of events at the Opera House in Dubuque, Iowa, so way on the other side of the state. And I mean, there's something about Orpheums and opera houses that they're so amazing to not only be in, but just investigate it too. Because there's always so much history, and the architecture is so like elaborate and great.
Yeah.
So I have to ask though, did you guys, is there a shadow figure that hangs out in the Orpheum? Like in the crowd?
On the fourth floor.
Yeah.
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 There it is.
on the fourth floor, but also while we were there, we were on the stage looking up, and it would be the 6th floor, and that's where they have like some of the spotlights way up top. And there's windows across there. And while we were on stage and we was looking up, of course, we had all the lights off, and you could actually see movement up there, like something might be peeking out, looking through the window, back away. So we did see some of that up there.
And it was the right side.
Right side in the middle too.
That's so awesome. So I don't know what it is. So the Orpheum in Sioux City, the Opera House in Dubuque, and there's been a couple other ones around the country that I've seen. It's always like up in the balcony on the right hand side or like right/middle. There's always, I don't know what it is, but everybody says that they see a shadow figure right up in that same area. I mean, the difference is Dubuque only has the 2 stories, and he's on the 2nd floor. But I mean, I love it. It's so great.
Yeah, the Orpheum in Sioux City is huge. I mean, it
sounds like it.
I've seen it, when I was a kid and stuff, but then, a lot of it was closed off because they had it made into movie theaters. So like all the balcony seating wasn't visible or anything because they had like drop ceilings through there and everything. So you didn't get to see all that. And they did a complete remodel of the thing and brought it back to what it had looked like previous to that. And I mean, it's just gorgeous. I mean, you got 6 floors of seating, with the balcony,
the huge chandeliers.
Yeah, giant chandeliers. It's just, it's amazing.
It sounds like it. So one place I heard about, and I'm curious if you guys ever got a chance to investigate it. It's from what I hear is it's no longer there, but it was the KD station.
Yeah. When I first started investigating, when I started investigating in 2008, that was going to be one of our first big locations to investigate. I done a walkthrough with it, had talked to the city about it, even had all of our waivers signed to get in. And probably 2 weeks before our investigation, they hired a contractor for it to tear it down. Fences went up and we weren't allowed to go in.
Oh man.
So,
wasn't it like 2017 or something like that it got torn down?
No, it was earlier. 2000. Let's see, we started in 2008. I'd have to look up when it was torn down, but I think it was 2009,
I think 2017 was
okay.
the other building, this other side.
So
yeah.
But yeah, they tore down a bunch of other buildings in that area. They tore down the Stockyard Exchange building down there. That was in the Stockyards area too. So,
yeah, and you guys are right because looking here, it said that it caught fire in 2006, and then in 2007 it was slated for demolition. So yeah, you're right. I apparently was adding a decade onto it for absolutely no reason.
Yeah, so probably 2009, I want to say, is probably when it got torn down.
Oh, okay. Sure. I'd heard about that when I first was kind of getting into it because I started in, was it 2007, 2006, somewhere in there? Yeah, something like that. But I remember hearing about it, and it's like I always wanted to go across the state and have that, because there's so many good places, all like in that close little group on the west side of Iowa. Because I mean, you have all the stuff in Sioux City, you have Malvern, you have Valeska, you have all that stuff, and they're all like within like 45 minutes of each other.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about it.
You guys save on gas. That's great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what would you say, and it doesn't have to be in Sioux City, what would you say is your guys' most favorite place you've investigated?
The McIntyre Villa in Atchison, Kansas.
Oh, I haven't heard about that one.
Oh, if you have not been there, you got to go there.
Yeah.
It is quite the place. We had quite the activity there. Usually when people have experiences, it's usually like one person has an experience, maybe 2 in their personal experiences. But both the groups that were there, it was my group plus Shadow Asylum Paranormal was there as well, because they invited us to go with them. And both teams at the same time experienced the same thing at the same time.
Oh wow.
One of the rumors, or one of the stories up there at the villa, is that one of the owner's children, who actually owned the house too, because it stayed in the family, but committed suicide on the second floor. And it was about 10:30, 9:30 at night when it happened. And it just so happens we did a 2-night stay there. Our first night, not a lot of activity happening. Some footsteps, creaky floor, stuff like that. We couldn't recreate any of it. The second night, we had thunderstorms, lightning, thunder, rain, heavy rain. And about 9:30 at night, I'm sitting downstairs with 3 other people, and Kathy and like 4 or 5 other people, all women, are upstairs on the second floor, and they're doing some EVP stuff and different things. And all of a sudden we hear this really loud bang. And to me, automatically, like, that was a gunshot. 100%. That was a gunshot. So we all jump up from the table. We're looking around the house, and I holler up to these guys upstairs, "Was that you guys make that noise?" And they're like, "No, we heard it too."
Yeah, it shook the house.
Yeah.
I mean,
Open the front door, look outside. There's not a car in sight. There's no people outside because it's pouring rain. So we check everywhere outside, nobody around. Even called the police department to see, did you guys have any reports of any shots fired or anything like that in this location? And they didn't. So we got online and we started doing some digging and research, and then come to find out that one of the residents that lived there committed suicide on the second floor. And it was about that time of night when it happened.
and we didn't know that before it happened.
Right.
We did the research
After
we heard the noise. We got on the computers and did the research, and then found that information. So
because we all wanted to know, what the hell was that?
what
You know,
the
what did we
hell?
just what did we just experience? You know, and yeah, I mean, on all the recordings, including our video cameras, it came across as a thud. It didn't come across as a loud snap like you would hear from a gun, like from a gunshot. So we got a hold of the owner, and she has security cameras throughout the house. And she was able to find it on one of the security cameras that was in the living room area, or one of the parlor rooms. And you could hear it clear as day. Clear as day. It sounds just like a gunshot. You see us running around trying to figure out what it was, where it came from. Yeah, it was quite the experience.
Oh, I bet. We had that happen at Farrar when we were doing the schoolhouse. We had a huge storm roll through, and we actually were on the downside of it, because as the storm was building and getting closer, all the activity in the school was really amping up and going crazy. And then after the storm passed through, we had nothing.
Yeah. Did you guys get footsteps?
Oh yeah, we had footsteps. We had some really good shadow play. We had we do a lot of the Estes method, and we had somebody sitting in the hallway upstairs, and then stupid me in the principal's office. And so we connected into some kind of conversation that sounded like between a student and the principal. Like where it blew my mind, because obviously, you can't hear what's going on. But when we went back and reviewed it, it sounded like this kid or this person was getting reprimanded by the principal. So that was kind of neat. And it's like, wow, we're getting yelled at even after we're dead. But,
right. Never ends.
Yeah. But no, that's super cool. So I'm probably going to lose some followers for this, but that's okay. I don't ever intentionally go to Kansas ever. And it's just, I don't know what it is. It's just not a state that I ever try to go to.
Well, they have a lot of places in Atchison. Actually, there's a couple different places
I bet.
that are within the same area in Atchison, Kansas. You got the Sally House, you got the Villa, is the Bell? Is the Bell Mansion there?
I'm not sure.
Or not the Bell?
I know the Sally House. That's all.
Yeah. There's another place up there that used to be kind of like a nursing home kind of place or something that is pretty active too up there.
Huh.
So, and they're not
Maybe I'll
expensive
have to
places to get into either. That's the other nice
swallow
thing.
my pride and go check it out.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, the McIntyre Villa definitely is.
Yeah.
Yeah. it
Yeah, we
sounds
already
like-
have plans to go back there again
Yep.
next summer.
Yep.
So
So is that one your favorite too, then, Kathy?
it is so far. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of the places that we've gone to, as you know, they're run down and dirty and no electricity or heat, and that's normal. We expect that. But the McIntyre Villa is beautiful. She's restored it.
Period.
Period. Yeah, it's really, really nice, clean.
Working
Everything
bathrooms.
works. You can stay there overnight. So that's my kind of place to go. And it has lots of activities. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot different than like spending the night at Edinburgh Manor where you got to worry about the lead paint falling on you.
Right.
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 Or getting growled at.
Yeah.
Or getting yelled at.
Growled.
He got growled at there.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it wasn't a very good experience being by yourself in the basement,
Yeah.
Oh.
and that
Were
was
you
during
in
the day. That was during the day.
In the laundry room?
No, but
Back
it
over by that solitary room.
could have came out of it could have came from down by the laundry room because I was in the dining area getting ready to go up the stairs. So yeah.
I get so like, and I mean, I don't know why, because it's literally just a big square with a couple cross throughs. I get so like turned around in that building. Like I cannot keep my sense of direction for nothing in there.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of like the mystery and the like of it is just because when you get so disoriented and you can't really figure out where you're at on top of being in the dark and on top of things happening around you.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Orpheum's that way too.
Oh, is it really?
Oh yeah. It's a huge
Down in the
place.
basement. Yeah. It's like a maze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like different levels to the basement. I mean, you go down into one area and you got bathrooms, and then you go down another level. I mean, it's just, yeah, it just goes on forever.
But it's not as creepy. It's not that bad.
No.
I didn't think so.
It's not as creepy.
It's a lot better than some of the places I've been in.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fair. So I need to ask you about, while I got you on the show, you guys had a documentary made that just came out, what, about a month ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's called The Real Haunted Mansion 2.
Yep.
So tell me about it.
Well, The Real Haunted Mansion 2 was filmed, oh God, we probably filmed that in, I want to say,
Was it March? April?
I think
March?
April, March, in that time frame. And I just remember it was cold outside. It was filmed at the Pierce Street Mansion in Sioux City, which used to be the Sioux City Public Museum.
Okay.
So it's got a lot of history to it. It was built back in the 1800s. It's built out of the pink quartzite from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And a lot of history to the place. Not a lot of documented deaths inside the building itself. But there have been some reported things of different things happening, different things seen and heard in there. So we were actually contacted by a film company out of Vegas. And they just happened to have been from Sioux City who moved out there, but they were coming back and they wanted to know if we wanted to do some filming and do it there. So we was like, oh, heck yeah. So we got in there and we did the investigation. And I mean, we actually ended up getting some pretty good EVP out of there too. Mostly female voices that we got. The best one I think we got was one that said goodbye. And that's when we was starting to wrap up and we had walked down the steps to the main floor when that was caught on EVP. And I was like, I mean, it was pretty clear. So we plan on going back there and doing a full investigation at some time.
Sure. Well, where can they find this documentary?
You can find it right now on Amazon Prime Video. Of course, you have to rent it or buy it there. It's like $3.49 right now, I think, and like $3.49 to buy it or something like that. But the more people who go out and view it and watch it, then it'll move over to other free sites. So that's what we're working on right now, is trying to get it on those other sites out there so people can watch it and don't have to pay for it.
Oh, sure. And we'll put a link to it in the show notes too. So that way anybody that pulls up the episode can see right in there, hey, go check this out.
And then anybody who does watch it, if they could also go to imdb.com and leave a rating there for it too. That's what's gonna help get it pushed to the other platforms out there.
Oh, so you guys are like full on celebrities then if you're on IMDb, right?
Yes, we are on IMDb.
Man, I should have gotten your autograph when I saw you. Nope, we just stood around talking and eating pulled pork sandwiches, and
That's right. Yeah.
And just to bring it up, we do have another one coming out. It's going to be coming out sometime next year. I know we have some B-roll footage to shoot maybe this month yet. Still waiting to hear back on that, but that's going to be another good one.
yeah, because that one's about what, the haunted train station, right?
Yep, that one is being done at the Sioux City Railroad Museum, and that place, I can tell you, wow. That's all I can. Wow, it's just an amazing place.
Full of history and
Yeah, it's a very large complex, and it has a lot of history to it. It's actually built on what used to be Indian ground, owned by the Indians or Native Americans. There are some archaeology digs that have happened there and have come up with some stuff. So they're going to be doing more archaeology work out there by the river. But as far on the train site, the railroad museum part itself used to employ over 500 people there at one given time, and several documented tragic deaths that happened there. And yeah.
Now they don't feel anything ominous or anything. It's just the workers.
Nothing
The
negative.
workers are still there doing their work every day. So
Sure, that just kind of the residual.
Yep.
On our day of filming, I think they let it be known that they were still there, because while it was a little bit windy, we had tons of noise and what sounded like walking on the roof and noises inside the roundhouse and stuff like that. And we actually went back and did an event on Friday the 13th last month, and it was a little windy out that night too, but there was no noise on the roof. There's no walking noises, no bangings or anything like that going on whatsoever. So windy, I think it was actually windier on the 13th than it was on the day that we did filming. So
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a very interesting place, and we are actually going to be starting to do a lot of events there next year. And so yeah, there's even talk of a Paracon that we're going to do there.
Ooh. Yeah. Now, do they still, they don't run any trains through there or anything, right?
No.
It's just a museum now.
They have like a little ride-on train that they take people around on. But they have a dining car that is there. They have in the roundhouse, they have one big steam locomotive that's been restored. And then they have one next to it that's not. And then just a lot of museum pieces.
Sure.
And they're actually talking about restoring a lot of the stuff. They want to restore the roundhouse back to original. There used to be over 30 stalls there, and they lost probably 75% of those in a fire before they got it as the museum. So they're planning on rebuilding some of that stuff too. So some of that stuff may spark some more activities. So,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I know my favorite memory investigating a train depot actually was in Vinton, Iowa. And it has absolutely no paranormal whatever to it. I was in the engineer's room, and their tracks still actually are active, but I mean, it's just it's one line going through. It's very small.
Yep.
Very small. But I was in the engineer's room, and a train came through while we were there. It was like 1:00 in the morning, and it just watching the train come through, sitting at the engineer's table or the conductor's table in the office, and being surrounded by all the old equipment, that's all been restored and everything, and then watching the train, it's like, this is so cool.
yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool to see something like that when you're
Yeah.
sitting in there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the one paranormal part of it is we got a old style train whistle when they went through the the ding 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 ding,
Mhm.
which they don't have those anymore. So that
Nope.
I mean, that was kind of neat. But yeah, it was so cool. That was my favorite train. I mean, I'm kind of a kid at heart train fan anyway. So
And I think a lot of people are. I think
Yeah.
if you were to ask anybody, I bet they would say that if you asked them what they thought about trains, a lot of them would probably say that they like them,
Mhm.
that they're
Yeah.
interested in them. Because I mean,
Nostalgic.
it's a lot of
Yeah.
it's especially guys. It's big pieces of massive steel running on wheels down massive iron rails. I mean, with big engines and stuff.
You almost sounded convincing on that one. Until we hit the end stuff.
And stuff.
Yeah.
End stuff. All right. Well, I'm going to throw
the whatnots, but I
and
kept
the
those to
whatnots.
myself.
Exactly. Well, I'm going to throw a little twist into it tonight. Now, I got like this weird glow on my face from the lights. That's crazy. Kathy, I'm gonna throw this twist at you.
Okay.
So, out of all your equipment,
Mm-hmm.
what's your favorite one?
Oh. I just got a new pair of dowsing rods. Those are pretty cool. We've had a smaller pair. Rosie usually has that. And I've never really played with them until recently. And I think they're pretty cool. I mean, I don't know how they move, because you can't move them. So what's moving them, to answer your question? So I think right now that's kind of my favorite thing right now.
That's nice. I am not a good dowsing rod person at all. I'm to move around and I can't hold them still long enough. I had them work once, and that was at a home, and it turned out where they kept pointing. It wasn't answering any questions for me, but it kept pointing to this one side of the house, and there was an underground well over there. So I counted that as a win.
There you go.
Nice.
Yep.
So,
Nice.
but you know what? I'll take it.
Yeah.
Dave, what about you?
I would say for me, especially recently, would be the Ovilus 5. Just because, I mean, it's so random, and the EMF and everything has to be just right in order for you to get certain responses on it, or it's just, throwing out words, whatever. But on one occasion, we was investigating it up at the old Mercy Hospital in Oskaloosa, Iowa, and Kathy, myself, and my son Derek, who was walking on the second floor, and walked past some lockers, and we got the words "Love David Hunting."
Mm-hmm.
And when we thought about it, there's only one person who ever calls me David, and that was my mom. And she always liked us doing paranormal investigations, and she'd always ask us about it. So we kind of figured that maybe that was my mom doing that. And then
Kind of cool.
the next one was when we did the Orpheum Theater, and we got the word Walter, the name Walter, that came across on the Ovilus. And then the other kind of cool things that were going on at the Orpheum too with the Ovilus is that we got the word news, The news was there filming us. We were live on the news. So that kind of made sense. And then we got the word weather. And it just so happens that when we got the word weather, they were doing the weather report on TV.
Oh, nice.
You know? And so we were like, oh, okay, well, there's 2 for 2, And then third, we got farmer. And at that time, they was doing the farm report on the news at that time. So somehow, some way, every time we got a word, it was coinciding with what they were doing at the news station.
That's
so
crazy.
that was kind of weird. That was
at
kind
least
of
it didn't like do like a TV prompt spot for you guys, like
right.
Channel 5 News. You know what I mean?
That would have been even worse. That would have been even creepier, I think. But
like, we're gonna go ahead and shut this off for a little bit.
And speaking of that, I mean, that day we was doing our live stuff. Towards the end, we was getting ready to start wrapping up stuff. Their equipment started failing. I mean, they had some failures when we was doing stuff where their light packs wouldn't work for their lights, or towards the end of it, the camera locked up, then our live pack locked up, and nothing would work. They'd reboot it, it would start working, and then as soon as they went to go live, it would stop working. move out into the lobby area, and everything started working.
Fine. Yeah.
So some didn't want us doing anything in there.
Apparently not. I actually have my Ovilus right here.
Yeah.
I realized it was still in my backpack from the other day.
Everybody loves that thing. I mean, it's just they see that and they hear a couple words coming through that, and they're hooked on it. They're like walking around with it, and everything.
See, I don't know what I think of it, because some days it's perfectly spot on. Other days it's absolute just babble.
Yeah.
I like running it in conjunction to other equipment.
Yep.
So we've had it quite a few times where we'd have like a Spirit box or some other ITC type box going, and though that's doing its thing, and then it would say something, and then the Ovilus in conjunction would reiterate that same point, and you're like, oh hey, wait a minute. Or it did a really good time one time. We were in this house and we were getting footsteps. You could like audibly hear the footsteps in the hallway, and then it said, I'm here.
Nice.
Like, okay. Perfect.
Wow.
So yeah, it's very interesting. It's a kind of a love take. Do you guys just do the phonetics on there where it just spits out the words, or do you use any of the other features on it?
I played around with the one that like the proximity sensor thing.
Yeah.
Never really got much out of that. The one where it's supposed to like draw a picture or something.
Yeah, that's dumb.
I don't really understand that one. The yes, no, I'm kind of on the fence with that one, because just sitting in my house and letting it do that and not even asking any questions, it'll go to no or go to yes and back and forth. I'm not really sure on that one.
I think I'd feel better about it if I couldn't see the little connection line, where it kind of looks like the heart throb. I think I'd feel better if I couldn't see that.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
to me, it's
okay, good.
It's a nice tool. It's a nice tool to have, but Kathy calls it our expensive toy.
Yeah.
Oh, those ones are cheap compared to half the stuff that you can buy out there now.
It is.
We just recently purchased our second tripwire. So, those are no, they're really cool. They're really neat in a lightning storm. It's not paranormal, but they get to see the rainbow shoot down the string and back during a lightning storm. It's really cool. We've noticed a lot of different things. And I don't know if it's just like the places have been getting investigated so much lately that it seems like the spirits or entities are getting smarter with the equipment, like they're interacting easier with it. Have you guys noticed any of that?
We haven't actually. For us, it's kind of the opposite sometimes. For me, going and doing private residential stuff is a little more exciting. I don't know if that's the right word or not, but
We get more happening there.
you get more happening there because when you go into it, you're not really you don't have any expectations of
Exactly.
anything, right? You just have what the client tells you is going on, and you try to either prove that or disprove that. And if you get the interaction with the equipment and stuff like that, that's great. But I mean, we've been to like Villisca, we've been to Edinburgh, we've been to Waverly Hills, we've been to Missouri State Penn, and in some of those places, you know, that are hyped up to be real active and have a lot of stuff going on, it was quiet. It was quiet. You know, and I mean, you had thousands of people go through those things, and you would think that the activity would just be off the charts, but no, it's quiet.
Well, and I agree with you because I've only been to Villisca once, and everybody thinks I'm crazy, but when I was there, nothing happened. It was just, pardon the pun, but dead.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very disappointed. I mean, luckily I didn't pay for it. I was actually invited to go with some other people, and they had an open spot, and they're like, hey, just come along with us. And so I did, and yeah, I had nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like all my recorders, not even personal experiences. It was just the only thing I got was a K2 hit off the axe marks in the master bedroom. So, I mean, which is something, but
yeah. I mean, like I said, the private residential stuff. I mean, I've had probably, other than, some of the recent stuff that we've done, I would say one of the best investigations I had was out in Bronson, Iowa. So, and I had the best responses and best interaction with equipment there. I mean, something very intelligent was there, and you would ask it to go up to a specific K2 meter on the floor, light it up to whatever lights you wanted it to, and it would do it on
wow.
I mean, even the ghost meter. I mean, the thing with the ghost meters is that something, if it's far away from you, it's going to beep slow. The closer it gets, the faster it beeps, right? And
sure.
I mean, we even had that. So
that's crazy.
Private residential stuff is just crazy.
Well, it's nice to go and kind of help people out too, to either validate that they're not crazy, that something's going on, or help explain what it might be. It might be, they have mice in the walls or something. Bats.
Came across that one.
Yeah. Oof. Knob and tube that's still carrying current, and I agree. Our team's been running really dry on home investigations. We've been on just a dry spell. We had one possible one a while ago, but they didn't bother to tell us that a team had literally just been there 3 days before we were supposed to go. And we're like, no, we're gonna hard pass on that one because you've already had them. We're not gonna step on their toes,
right?
And so we've been kind of just stuck doing the public places, and I like the home ones because you guys were saying, you don't know what you're getting into. You don't have any preconceived notions. I agree. I try to avoid as much as I can. Obviously, with a podcast like this, it's hard to not hear about lots of places. But I like to not do research on a lot of these places and just go in there as blind as possible, just so you can kind of get that fresh feel on it. I mean, some of them are really hard to do, but
if you ever want to come to Sioux City to do an investigation, I can probably get you into one house.
Okay. That sounds fair. I mean, I'd be more than happy to come there sometime and join up with you guys.
I know this place is haunted. I can honestly say it's not just inhabited, it's haunted. It is the definition of the word haunted. So
You're not gonna take me over to the Van Meter Monster or anything, are you?
oh no.
No.
No. It would be my brother's house.
Oh,
Yeah.
you have me intrigued.
It is freaking crazy. Sometime we'll have to get together and I'll have to play you one of the best EVPs I've ever caught. It's a Class A EVP.
Sure.
To me, it's the best. I mean, don't get me wrong, we've caught other really nice, great Class A EVPs. But this particular one really hit home for me because it was 100% my dad.
Oh wow.
It was his voice, and it was kind of a comment that he would make, in the situation that was going on at that time. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's phenomenal. I love that it would have that you could pinpoint that perfectly.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, you definitely have to play that for me sometime. Well, and likewise, if you guys head over this way towards Cedar Rapids, let me know, and we'll definitely have to get together. There's some fun stuff around here. So.
Oh yeah. We always up for a road trip.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you got to come check out the Granger House in Marion.
We've been there.
Yep.
Oh, see, I live 5 minutes away from it.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah. We went up there with Shadow Asylum, didn't we? Yeah, that's who we went with up there to no, that was Terry and Steve.
Yeah.
Terry and Steve.
Mid-10
Paranormal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Perfect.
We went there with them. We did actually. That was part of our Iowa tour. That side, we did the Granger House. We did Farrar School and Melbourne Manor.
Sure.
Yes.
And let me tell you, it was cold.
Oh, you guys just went all the way across the state.
It was very, very cold during that time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't advise doing a 3-day road trip when it's cold out, especially the Granger House was great.
Yeah.
But Farrar
nice and heated.
And Melbourne had the heated room, which was nice, but the rest of it was cold.
Right.
So, I like places that have some heat or someplace you can go to get it.
Well, see, and we did it the complete opposite. So when we were the first time we were at the Granger House, their air conditioner unit went out. And it was 90 some degrees outside with the high Iowa humidity. It was I think it was early August. And it was brutal. We were soaked. And then when we did Farrar, it was early August again, and it was just atrocious. Plus with that big storm that came in, so that humidity was way up.
Yeah.
And everybody was dying to get back into the one room in the entire school.
Yeah.
Right.
Jeez.
So it was
great.
It's all
about timing.
I just realized. Yeah, it is all about timing, especially here in Iowa because it's so up and down.
Right.
I never asked you guys who's all on your team.
Well, we have myself, and then we have Kathy. We have my sister Rose, and Tracy Lund is our other investigator, and then my son Derek.
Okay. Was that your son at the event then with you?
No. Derek didn't. Did he come with? I don't think Derek came with us to that. No, he stayed home with the dogs.
Yeah.
No, it's Kathy, I, and Tracy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That were there at the Paracon.
Okay, I was thinking there was somebody else, but there were so many people there. It was hard to.
Oh yeah, there was a lot.
So how'd you convince them all to join up with you? Because it sounds like you were kind of the ringmaster of this.
Well,
he was.
My sister, she, of course, like me, grew up in some places that had activity. So she didn't actually join up with me until probably 2010. I think
Okay.
is when she started coming with us. So she'd always been interested in it and stuff like that, and she wanted to start coming along. So I said, okay, sure. So she was pretty easy. And then Tracy, he and I worked at different venues. I worked armed security for about 14 years. And one of the last places I worked was the Hard Rock doing concerts and stuff. And that's where I met Tracy. He heard that I was doing paranormal investigations and stuff like that. And he called me up one day out of the blue, hit me up on Facebook. And he's like, hey, I hear you doing this kind of stuff. Can I go with you sometime? And I was like, yeah, sure. You know, he got us into this really cool place called Grand Meadows. And we went in there and we investigated. He heard his first EVP from a question that was asked, which was asking for a particular spirit that we was interacting with, and asked what the name was. And we got the name Michelle. And as soon as I played that back and he heard that, he was right. He wanted to go right back in the building and get more. So he's been hooked ever since then on that stuff. So, and then Kathy,
Yeah.
I've
always wanted to go, but with Derek, 'cause he's 17 now. So over the last couple of years, he's been able to come with us. But before that, I would just stay home.
Yep.
Because those late nights were not
Sure.
good for having a young child at home. So
Oh, I understand completely.
kind of
Well,
a,
what's the
kind of a-
best way
almost a
for people
family
to get a hold of
situation.
you?
To
Yeah,
get a hold
sounds
of us, they get hold of us on Facebook, Para911 space SCIA, right? On Facebook. We also have, I think we're out on TikTok as well, Para911. And then we also have a YouTube channel that's out there as well. Need to do some catch up on that. We're actually planning on doing some filming and start editing and stuff like that, and putting some stuff out there on YouTube too coming up. So something else to look forward to. But yeah, we also have a website right now. It's para911.com. That's where a lot of people go out and submit investigation requests and stuff like that. And then I also have some EVP out there, some good ones. You might want to go out there and check that out and listen to some of those. A couple of them might make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. So
Perfect. All right, guys. Well, we've already hit an hour. It just
wow,
disappeared way too quick.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you guys taking the time to be on the show tonight.
Sure. Now, I do want to throw out there that, like I said, we're planning on doing some events. We are planning on doing some speaking engagements as well.
Okay.
Sure. We're going to be talking to the Orpheum. We kind of mentioned it a little bit when we investigated, but we're talking about maybe doing something at the Orpheum Theater to do like a speaking engagement where get a couple different groups together. We talk about our experiences, places we've been, maybe play some EVP for them or show some video if we got anything like that. And then maybe later throughout the night, whoever buys like special tickets or whatever can go investigate with the different groups as well. So keep that in mind.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Are you going to have all that on your Facebook and stuff?
Yep. Once we get everything planned out and everything, it'll be up on Facebook.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, like I said, I'll make sure to add the links to not only the documentary, but your guys' Facebook and website and stuff like that too. I may not do TikTok. I don't really support TikTok, but you know, that's just
yeah. Me. My sister does most of that stuff. So.
I can't follow it. It's too
it's too busy for me.
Yeah, I don't like it either. But.
I'm not a good dancer, so I mean.
Maybe that's what people like to see. Maybe that's how you get all the views, is by being a terrible dancer, and they like seeing that. I don't know.
I think they'd probably kick me off the talk. All right.
yeah.
Well, thanks to Dave and Kathy for joining us tonight. And thanks to all of our guests for tuning in. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, please remember to take a second to rate us 5 stars or leave us a review. It helps us to get the word out about the show, and we want to hear your feedback to help make the show better. If you're an Android listener, you can follow us on Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, or simply just say, Alexa, play the Para911 podcast. And of course she will.
There goes my Alexa.
Yeah. It goes inside my head, and similar songs on Amazon Music.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't have to do this show anymore. That was absolutely amazing. And I completely lost where I was in my script now. That's even better. So remember, if you like the show, tell a friend. If you want to be a guest on the show, or if you want more Para911, please join us on our Facebook or Instagram pages. And if you want to help support the show, please stop by our website and buy us a coffee. But my name is Brandon, and you've been listening to the best place to bring our paranormal teams a little closer together, the Para911 podcast.